Alright guys, so I am going to head out. I'm going to be a bit of a sports photographer today, and we're going to see how the A9 does during a real life action photography scenario. I am not the type of photographer to do action. The A9 does everything that I need it to do in terms of you know, shooting like shooting weddings, that sort of thing. But I wanted to see how it does at its target audience. So I'm going to be meeting up today with a fellow photographer who is a professional sports photographer. So I want to put the A9 in his hands, see what happens, and I just want to get a really good idea of how the camera handles myself. And yeah, so let's go and see what's up. Alright guys, so here we are at UALR, the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, and we're going to be filming, or not filming really, but we're going to be shooting a basketball game. Now don't ask me who's playing. I have no idea who's playing because I'm really not this kind of photographer. I know nothing about this sort of thing. Some of my colleagues, they thought that I may have fallen on my head. One of my colleagues said, "Jeremy, so what women's sport is this?" And I was like, "No, DeAndre, this is not a women's game." So they think that if I have a camera in my hands, it's just about beautiful women and non-sports things. But that's how much I like you guys. I want to bring you some unique content. So anyways, as you can see, it's raining buckets right now. If you guys can hear me, I know the audio is not as good, but I'm going to pack up the camera and we'll start filming again once I make it inside. Okay, so I have no idea what's going on, by the way. Something's happening. The national anthem just played, so I think that means that they're going to start playing, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Oh, what's up? Hey, what's up, Robert? Mark, yeah, you're in this video, so you.
I just want to see if it got into focus, and it did. That's pretty good.
Okay, yeah, and then like whenever you rotate this wheel, it'll like scroll out like this.
Okay.
And then if you hit this again, then it jumps back out like that. So it's kind of, yeah. Yeah, that's a good shot. It's clearly, like I say, I'm not this kind of photographer, you know. So
is the screen just set bright, or have you set it up to be super bright?
so it's not set to be super bright, no. That's kind of the default setting.
That's the default setting. Okay.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, we could dim it or we could brighten it, but that's the default.
Because I'd be curious if that's what it's going to look like when I import a raw file.
Okay, we can always find out.
Well, not with me, because I don't have the capture one for Sony. But to look at you, did you bring a laptop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. Okay. Yep.
Okay, is there any way to flag that one?
So on this camera right here, I
yeah.
haven't done the update to do the flagging on that one. The other camera, the R3, they have more detailed flagging. They need to add that to that camera too. So
yeah,
hopefully we'll see that soon. Okay, so where are we going, Robert?
We're going to the media room.
We're going to the media room. Okay. I don't know what that's about. We're going to the media room. So
You can sit in there and go through your pictures
oh, okay.
and download.
I guess I'll find out. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
So I've totally forgot my power adapter at home, but I think I have enough battery life.
I've been shooting Nikon for 30 years, so I'm used to things that doesn't do, or that could imitate, like the feeling the shutter release, or at least hearing it, versus the green blinky. I wish the body was a little bit bigger for hand holding and size. And if they ever came out with glass, that might be, but things like HQD cards, not using that, not having the long, fast glass.
Sure.
The things a sports shooter has to have.
I agree.
Obviously, I haven't used it enough for battery life or anything like that. So
Yeah, ergonomically, we're quite a difference there.
yeah, a D5 comparison to the A9. So
Definitely. Yeah, battery life wise. Okay, so how am I doing battery life wise? Speaking of which, right now. Right now, I am at 82% on the battery. On 82% on one of the batteries in this grip.
okay, I've already shot a game. I'm halfway through the second game, and my battery life is, let's see if I get to it, is 91%.
Okay. I've taken 321 frames so far.
Oh well, I've probably taken 3 times that many.
Yep.
Or so. I have to admit, I enjoyed shooting with the Sony. It was nice. To me, it still has several things it's got to overcome before it would replace the Nikon system for shooting sports. Things like HQD cards, things like battery life. Some of it's just because I'm so used to Nikon, the fact that there is no shutter sound or pressure, feedback from that is not disturbing, but something that would take getting used to. Switching from one system to the next, I think in my mind, you'd really have to have a valid reason to do it. Comparing the pictures, obviously the Sony pictures are great, just as the Nikon pictures are great. They both use the same sensor in a lot of the cameras. So it'd have to be a very compelling reason. The glass isn't there yet for sports shooters, in my opinion. But I could see it definitely as a system. And to be honest with you, as I do want a lightweight system, I'll look at Sony. I'm going to wait until see what Nikon comes out with, so I can maybe utilize my lenses in that. But if it's not there in a couple years, and then hopefully Sony, whether it's weatherproofing the camera body, or doing things like adding HQD cards, those type things, better battery life, it'll be a contender.
All right, guys. So it was a very exciting time. Way different than what I'm used to. But it was nice to have a change. And there's a bus like right by me that just honked its horn, like right in my face. Anyway, so I'm about to get out of here, and we will look at everything in more detail. And I'm sure I'll edit this in a creative way. Alright everyone, thanks for watching this video. I know it's been a little bit different than some of the videos I've made in the past. Thanks to Robert and Mark for having me out. Especially thanks to Mark for shooting the camera and giving me some feedback on its performance. I definitely like getting feedback from other photographers because it allows me to think about things in a different way. As you guys know, the Sony A9 works very well for my work. I primarily purchased the camera because it allows me to have the best possible focusing performance, especially in low light. And as you know, I really like using the silent shooting, and the silent shooting works best on the A9 compared to all of Sony's other current cameras. But it was very good to see how the camera performed for its intended purpose of sports photography. And there's definitely a few things that Mark mentioned that gave me some new insights. Back whenever the camera first came out, or actually before it came out rather, I was thinking about the whole sort of XQD card situation. And I kind of wondered how Sony was going to fit XQD cards in the camera. And I figured that they would go to a little bit larger body. As it turned out, Sony did not do that because they seem to be very enamored with the smaller form factor of their cameras. Now, this is something that I personally like, but I understand that a lot of people don't like that, and a lot of people want a larger camera, and I do think that for the intended market of the A9, I think that having a larger camera would be a good thing. Because the sports photographers are going to be using, larger lenses and so on. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Performance-wise, I didn't really run into any type of buffer issues, thankfully. I did use the very fast Sony G series cards, and they worked out very well. But not seeing XQD on this camera, I feel like it's definitely a downside for this camera's target market. I do like the durability of XQD cards more than SD cards. Every few months I end up completely tearing up an SD card somehow or another, and yeah, XQD wouldn't really have that issue at all. One thing that Mark mentioned that I hadn't thought about a whole lot, and it actually kind of got me thinking about some sort of unique ideas, is just the experience of shooting with the camera on silent shooting. And he mentioned how it was very different. And thinking back to cameras that I've had in the past, like the Nikon D700 especially, that was a very tactile camera. Every time you took a photograph, you could really feel the mirror slap. Now, from a technical standpoint, having vibration in the camera while you're taking photographs is not a good thing, but we as photographers, we've gotten so used to that feedback from the camera. It's just really a personal preference thing, Every once in a while I'll end up teaching a group of high school students or younger people around the same age range, and they'll tell me, the first thing that they'll ask me about DSLRs oftentimes is, okay, we're shooting with our cameras, so how can we turn this sound off? And I explained to them that you can't, because there's a mechanical mechanism in there, and it's kind of crazy to think about, but they think, man, well, they don't really understand why there's a mechanical mechanism in the camera. And so, but for those of us that have been shooting for a long time, that feedback would be nice. So I kind of got to thinking, it'd be cool if Sony had some type of haptics sort of feedback happening in the camera. If only they made another product that has haptic feedback, if only they had that experience. Anyways, it'd be cool if you could have something like that in the camera maybe. Long story short, feedback is a very important thing. Even if they didn't go as exotic as having haptics feedback or something, I feel like they should have at least used the shutter from the A7R III and the A7 III in the A9. I get that the camera is designed for silent shooting primarily, but to be able to do 10 frames a second with the mechanical shutter and then 20 with the electronic would be ideal. But anyways, perhaps in the A9 Mark II. Something else that Mark mentioned is a really big thing, and that is lens selection. For me, there's plenty of lenses for portrait photography and that sort of thing, but once again, for the target market of the A9, sports photography, they need some big glass. The 400-2.8 is coming, but they're going to need a lot more than that. They need a 600 millimeter, they need a 300 2.8. I'd even like to see some lenses with some Fresnel elements, something akin to Nikon's PF lenses like the 300 f4, or something akin to Canon's DO lenses. I think it'd be cool to have some super teles that were still small and lightweight to match the small and lightweight form factor of Sony's cameras. And then, yes, this elephant is still in the room, battery life. Now, once again, for me, battery life, not really an issue. Once we got to cameras that could do 1,000 frames on one battery charge, that was good enough for me. But certainly if we compare something or to something like a Nikon D5, you know, the D5 is rated at around 4,000 or so shots. The A9 is rated at around 600 frames per shots, or 600 frames per charge rather. And you know, there's a big difference. Now, a lot of people wonder why in the real world people get so many more shots out of the A9. That's because of the way the camera ratings work, the battery ratings work. And I'm going to get into that in another video, not this video. But in the real world, just know that you will get more shots out of an A9 than the advertised number. It's very easy to get 2,000 plus frames out of an A9, but you can also get, in the real world, I've seen people get as many as 14,000 pictures out of a single charge on a D5. So yeah, there's still a really big difference there. So if you do need more than 1,000 frames per charge, then yeah, something like a D5 still wins. I feel like as technology increases, as battery technology increases, I feel like we'll see things change drastically in the future, but this is where we are right now. All in all, I think that's about it. I feel like a few people will probably have questions about the different settings I used on the A9. Back whenever the A9 first came out, a lot of people were complaining about how the camera performed when focusing with the 70-200 2.8 G Master. A lot of people noted that whenever subjects were running towards you and you were zooming from 200 millimeters down to 70, the camera would not focus well at all. Sony, they have released a firmware update several months ago for the 70-200 2.8 GM, and that solved the issue. We did have that firmware update installed during this test, and there were no issues with that at all. No, we didn't have any overheating issues, by the way, just in case anyone was curious about that. Focus setting wise, I stuck with expanded flexible spots. I tried the lock-on AF a few times, but for a sport like basketball with all sorts of people moving in and out of the frame, lock-on AF was not the way to go. Expanded flexible spot worked out much better. I also noted that, let's see, someone sent me a message at some point talking about the different focus settings on the A9, and my friend Jason actually found an FAQ from Sony where they talk about these track sensitivity settings. That's something else that deserves another video, but just know that it is possible to fine-tune the A9's focusing system to where you can basically have it be more locked on to a target, or you can have it set to where it's less locked on and more willing to change focus as things move in and out of the frame. Sony recommends you leaving this setting at kind of a neutral setting for basketball, and that's exactly where I left it during this test. So that's something that deserves a video in the future. Anyways, guys, I'm pretty much done with this one. I've been doing lots and lots of new projects. There's been lots of adventure going on, which is why I'm kind of filming even this part of the video in sort of a non-standard way. Stay tuned to this channel to see updates about all my other adventures I've had going on. And if you have questions, write me in the comments below. I'll toss a few of the images that I shot during this video as well, and add a link in the description so you guys can check those out. If you really pixel peep, which we may do in another video, we can probably find some differences between the D5 and the A9 files, but I think both are excellent. Mark noted that the image quality met his requirements whenever shooting the A9. Lots of differences between these cameras in terms of usability, but image quality wise, I feel like they're both top notch. Anyways, guys, until next time, this is Jeremy Smith, signing off.